A $60,000 salary has long been understood as a reasonable middle-income benchmark in Canada. It covers the basics, allows for some savings, and by most conventional measures signals financial stability. For a growing number of people earning exactly that figure, however, the month ends before the money does. Not because of poor decisions, but because the cost of living has pulled away from what that salary actually delivers. The gap between $60,000 nominal value and its real purchasing power has widened significantly over the past several years, and for many earners, the numbers simply don't resolve the way they once did. This breakdown looks at what a $60,000 income actually takes home after deductions, what it costs to live in major cities, where the structural pressures are concentrated, and what options exist for people trying to find a way through. If you find this kind of economic breakdown useful, subscribing keeps this content in your feed.
Before a single dollar of a $60,000 salary reaches a bank account, a significant portion has already been deducted. After federal income tax, Ontario provincial tax, Canada pension plan contributions, and employment insurance premiums, a $60,000 earner in Ontario takes home approximately $46,500 a year, about $3,875 per month. That is the number everything else runs on. Employers quote gross income. Offer letters state gross income, but rent, groceries, and every fixed cost are paid in net dollars. The distance between $60,000 annual gross and $3,875 monthly net is where the first meaningful pressure point appears. In Toronto, as of 2026, the average one-bedroom apartment rents for $2,350 per month. In Vancouver, $2,480. In Calgary, often cited as the more affordable option among major cities, the average sits at $1,847 per month. For a $60,000 earner in Toronto, rent alone represents 60.6% of monthly take-home pay. That leaves $1,525 for everything else. It's a narrow margin, and for many people in that situation, it isn't holding. The average monthly grocery spend for a single adult in Canada has risen substantially since 2021. As of 2026, a realistic food budget for one person runs between $450 and $620 per month, depending on the province. Dalhousie University's Agri-Food Analytics Lab has tracked this trend annually, and the increases have been consistent. That range reflects ordinary grocery shopping, not premium brands or specialty items. For someone already spending $2,350 in rent in Toronto, adding $500 in food costs brings the monthly total for those two categories alone to $2,850, against a take-home of $3,875. That leaves $1,025 for everything else. Owning a used vehicle currently costs on average between $900 and $1,100 per month in Canada, when insurance, fuel, maintenance, and loan payments are combined. Monthly transit passes are cheaper, $156 in Toronto, $110 in Vancouver as of 2026. But for many jobs, particularly outside city cores, transit isn't a workable option. Either way, the cost of getting to work is a significant fixed expense that rarely receives the same attention as rent in household budget discussions. Subtracting $950 in transportation from a remaining $1,025 after rent and food leaves approximately $75 per month for utilities, internet, clothing, healthcare costs, and any attempt at savings. When inflation rises faster than wage growth, employers often issue cost of living adjustments to nominal salaries. Those increases can push earners into slightly higher effective tax territory, even when real purchasing power hasn't improved. The Canada Revenue Agency refers to this as bracket creep. A raise intended to compensate for inflation ends up partially taxed before it reaches the account, producing a nominal income increase that delivers less real benefit than it appears to. The Parliamentary Budget Officer has identified this as a meaningful drag on middle-income earners, and it's one of the less visible reasons why raises don't always translate into financial relief. The broader pattern behind all of this becomes clearer with one figure.
A $60,000 salary in 2026 carries approximately the purchasing power of $42,000 in 2019. That's a difference of roughly $18,000 in real terms over 7 years, not because wages fell, but because cumulative inflation outpaced the wage growth most middle-income earners actually received. Statistics Canada's Consumer Price Index data shows that compounded inflation across shelter, food, and transportation since 2019 has been among the steepest in Canada's recent economic history. The salary number increased, what it could buy decreased at a faster rate. For many earners, that divergence accounts for a persistent sense that their finances are under pressure, despite what, on paper, looks like a decent income. If you're finding this useful, like this video and tell us, what city are you in, and does your $60,000 feel like $60,000? I read every response.
Standard financial guidance recommends saving 20% of gross income. On a $60,000 salary, that's $12,000 a year, or $1,000 per month. For an earner in Toronto carrying $2,350 in rent, $500 in food costs, and $950 in transportation, the remaining monthly income after those three categories is well under $200. The Financial Consumer Agency of Canada reports that fewer than 30% of Canadians earning between $50,000 and $70,000 have 3 months of emergency savings, the minimum generally considered adequate. One significant unplanned expense often means borrowing. That reflects what the numbers actually allow, not how carefully the money is being managed. The same $60,000 salary, taken home as the same $3,875 per month, produces a substantially different financial outcome depending on where it's spent. As of 2026, average one-bedroom rents in Moncton, New Brunswick sit around $1,150 per month. In Thunder Bay, Ontario, approximately $1,100, Lethbridge, Alberta, $1,195, Prince George, British Columbia, roughly $1,080. These are functioning cities with healthcare infrastructure, post-secondary institutions, and established employment bases. Running the same budget in Moncton, $1,150 in rent, $500 in food, $800 in transportation, leaves over $1,400 per month. The salary is identical, the cost structure is not. That $1,400 is the difference between a budget that permits no savings and one that allows for an RRSP contribution, an emergency fund, or a meaningful reduction in financial pressure.
Several federal programs exist for Canadians in the $60,000 income range, and a meaningful number of eligible individuals don't claim them. The Canada Workers Benefit is a refundable federal tax credit for working Canadians with modest incomes. As of 2026, single individuals with net income below approximately $33,000 qualify for the full benefit, with a gradual phase-out to around $43,000. For two-income households, the eligibility window may extend further. The GST-HST credit is issued quarterly and assessed automatically from filed tax returns, but only for those who file. The Canada Revenue Agency has noted that thousands of eligible Canadians fail to file in years with variable or lower income, leaving the credit uncollected. Unused RRSP contribution room carries forward indefinitely. An earner who hasn't maximized contributions over several years may have accumulated significant room that can be applied when financial circumstances allow. Financial planners and economists who work backward from the lifestyle stability that $60,000 provided in 2018 tend to arrive at a consistent number, somewhere between $78,000 and $85,000 per year in a major Canadian city. That's the income level at which a standard budget, rent, food, transportation, utilities, modest savings, becomes viable without requiring a second income or significant compromise on basic expenses. For some people, reaching it means pursuing a higher-paying role, a promotion, or a credential. For others, it means relocating to a city where $60,000 already covers the gap. In some cases, a combination of a modest income increase and a lower-cost city closes the difference without requiring either extreme. The salary that once defined stability in Canada hasn't disappeared. What's changed is the cost structure around it.
If this gave you a clearer picture of where things stand, subscribe and leave it liked. It's the most direct way to help the algorithm recommend this kind of content. And if you have a number or a city you're working toward, drop it in the comments. For anyone who came into this video feeling like the finances didn't add up despite doing things reasonably right, the benchmark economists point to is $78,000 to $85,000. That's documented, it's specific, and it gives you something concrete to work toward.